want to play this. This is a little bit off topic, but as you know, that one of my, well, not just one of, but my my bailiwick is Social Security, and during the Obama years and prior, there was a real push to cap, or I should say, to cut Social Security in the form of increasing the cost of living, adjusting the cost of living increases to basically not allow cost of living to keep pace with inflation as it is experienced by elderly folk. When you are older, the things that you buy change. One of the things that you buy that's very important is pharmaceuticals. Also, you're on a fixed income. Your rent increases become more problematic because you're not, your ability to move is diminished because you're older and it's just harder to move. So there's actually a different calculation for inflation as it is felt and experienced by older people than other people. I think it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics has done experiments with this. But there is also another formula which would have cut cost of living increases. Well, here's some tape of a guy who apparently is running for Congress in 2012, trying to do it by going even further on the cuts to Social Security. If you, and I get it, running in Texas, but El Paso is not like the rest of Texas. And he's replacing a guy, and I don't know where Sylvester Reyes was on this. I know Sylvester Reyes was pretty conservative in some respects. But we're 6 years later, 8 years later, 7 years later, and the Senate, certainly in the years to follow 2012, I think around 2013, actually, maybe it was 2014, a non-binding resolution that was voted on by all the Democratic caucus, almost the entire Democratic caucus, I believe, voted to expand Social Security. I get very worried about when people will even say this in the context of a campaign, because Barack Obama, one of the reasons why he won Iowa was to go in and pretend that Social Security was in crisis. Social Security is not in crisis. There's a couple of things that we could do to shore it up and make it completely solvent, and you wouldn't have to do anything to it for 75 years if you wanted. Very easy. Just get back, just raise the cap where it should be. Blow the cap off. But to go out and propose this for Social Security is highly problematic. And when Barack Obama just said it was a crisis to win Iowa, he went on, and on day one, he wanted to cut Social Security. You can go back and listen to all the shows I did with Digby back in the old days talking about this before he gave up the ghost. I think it was in 2015. But here is, or maybe 2013, here is a young Beto O'Rourke talking about Social Security in ways that I do not like.
The people who paid into Social Security and who are earning their checks back from their investment in Social Security, that needs to be protected. That's inviolable. But going forward for future generations, for my kids' generation, 5, 3, and 1-year-old right now, we need to look at things like means testing. We need to look at perhaps a longer, a later age at which my kids are going to retire. That's a tough decision. It's not easy to say. It's going to be politicized by my opponent, but those are the tough things that you're going to want me to weigh in on when I'm in Washington, D.C. This is precisely why the U.S. almost defaulted on its national debt this summer, and the incumbent voted against the compromise that was reached so that prevented us from defaulting on the national debt.
First of all, let's start from the end. That is not the reason why the United States almost defaulted on the debt. Almost defaulted on the debt because the Republicans were holding the debt hostage. Statutorily, Social Security cannot contribute to the national debt. Statutorily. That is a complete lie. In the service of a horrible policy that would undermine the political durability of Social Security by means testing. We have a very easy way of means testing Social Security. If you're very concerned about rich people getting away with murder because they're getting Social Security, the ceiling of Social Security. Remember, it would just go up to about $2,400 a month, I think, for the richest. But if you're very worried about that, there's a very easy fix, and you fix that on the front end. You get rid of the cap on Social Security. You tax them. It is social insurance. Tax them when they have the money. God forbid they get into an accident, can't work, lose all their money because of medical costs, or they lose all their money because they invested too heavily in first sinks. They will still have Social Security when they are older and prevent them from slipping into poverty like 2/3 of our seniors did prior to Social Security. Raising the retirement age for people in like 70% of the first 70% of income at a time where the mortality rate in some instances actually is like shrunk. Or I should say the age of mortality is actually dropped, or at least gone stagnant. But certainly for people who work in jobs or are in the bottom, the second half of the income distribution, they don't live much longer than they did 75, 85 years ago. And so these are really horrible ideas. If they sound like Republican ideas, it's because they are. So this is ugly stuff. Back in 2012, here's another quote from Beto. It's pretty bad. Long-term, middle-term, you have to have a plan to address that debt, but it's a plan that extends from 2035, 55, and 75. We look at the Simpson-Bowles Commission that is comprehensively taking a look at all these issues and offering up some tough choices that Congress at some point is going to have to make, or we continue to look the other way. You know what? It sucks, but I'm going to not let my kids pick up the mess. I'm not willing to do that. Well, then you should have been advocating for getting rid of the cap at that time.
And you know it's a Beto quote because it sucks.
It sucks.
For him.
So the Simpson-Bowles Commission, go back and look. I mean,
But
it's just horrible
It's
stuff.
very selfless of Beto to say that his kids might have to work a little bit longer. I assume they won't inherit any of the real estate cash from his father.
Right, indeed. Yeah, exactly. But maybe he's singing a different tune now. I'm not sure.
Maybe we should dig up the ads that Rios ran against him, talking about how he was putting seniors on the chopping block.
I mean,
Watch this space.